What is up, Bills Mafia? Welcome to a quick live stream edition of Circling the Wagons, a Buffalo fan based podcast. I am your host, Nate, guys. We are going to discuss the Buffalo Bills beating the Kansas City Chiefs 28-21 in Orchard Park tonight. I was actually at the game. I go to one game a year, maybe, and I was fortunate. One of my buddies got tickets, and he's like, "You want to go?" And I said, absolutely. Let me check with my wife before I say that. But yeah, I was able to go. Great seats, great weather, great win by the Buffalo Bills. They absolutely looked the part, playing great football on all sides of the ball. Offense, especially, offense was something we've been working on recently, and let's see how this goes. Defense got a lot of pressure on Mahomes, sacked him 3 times. Great play on defense for the Buffalo Bills. And yeah, it was a great game. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, I don't know if you guys were like me. I kind of put this out on X that I wasn't confident in this game. Bills going into it, and you know how social media, the algorithm, they'll give you, basically anyone that wants to start a fight with you. And a lot of people are like, the Bills got a good chance. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, I don't know if they do have a good chance. I don't know if they do because this team hasn't really shown anything. And if this gets into a shootout, then I don't know if this team can stick with the Chiefs as hot as the Chiefs have been. Well, the Chiefs hot streak ended tonight. Chiefs are now 5-4. The Bills are 6-2. This was by far the biggest Bills win this season. You could even count last week's game against the Panthers because the Panthers just beat the Packers. So, I mean, the Bills have beaten a couple of really good teams in 2 weeks in a row. And the Chiefs are actually outside the playoff window right now. So if the playoffs started today, the Bills would be in a wild card spot, and the Chiefs would be not in the postseason. So that's pretty cool. Josh Allen had his best game since the Ravens game tonight. 23 for 26, 200, and I'm trying to remember the stats off the top of my head. I'm driving home right now. It's about 9:30. And my voice is a little bit crackly because I was yelling at the stadium. And yeah, man, this was a crazy game in general. Like I said, I mentioned I didn't think the Bills were gonna win this one necessarily. I didn't go in thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be super angry if the Bills don't win. I'm like, I'll be pleasantly surprised if they win, and I was pleasantly surprised. It went down to the last play, the Hail Mary, where Patrick Mahomes threw one up. But you know what was different between this one and like any other Hail Mary that Patrick Mahomes has had to throw up against the Buffalo Bills in past seasons is the Bills got freaking pressure on Mahomes multiple times today. I mentioned the 3 sacks. They were getting pressure on him before that. And even after Michael Hoyt went down with the injury, which is, something else we'll discuss in a bit, but they were able to do it with I didn't hear the press conference after if Sean McDermott did a lot of the play calling, again, like he did last week. But ask me if I'd be surprised that he did. I would not, because the defense looked incredible. Max Hairston, come out game for Max Hairston. He talked earlier in the week about wanting to get an interception against Patrick Mahomes, and he did. He had the only interception in the entire game. He got it against Patrick Mahomes. I got to give a huge shout out to Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop had a great game. His coming out party as a second-year player, his best game by far. He's been showing up, a little bit more each game, and he had at least 2 or 3 huge impactful plays on either a third down or a fourth down to cause a punt or a turnover on downs. I love the play of Bishop. I was hoping that this was the kind of player we were going to get eventually. People were quick to write him off earlier this year. I wasn't ready to do that. I knew the athleticism was there, and I knew the talent was there, but the guy needs reps. He lost a ton of reps last season with injuries. He lost a ton of reps this preseason with injuries, and he's putting it together. So I hope this is just the start of something great with him on defense. James Cook looked great again. not an amazing James Cook day like we're used to seeing, but he didn't have to be tremendous today. 4.2 yards per carry, over 100 yards rushing. I thought he looked really good. To Joe Brady's credit, he eventually started to put James Cook in on passing downs on third down. For most of the game, though, he was nowhere to be seen on third down, which is another discussion in itself. I thought Joe Brady called a good game. There were definitely some questionable play calls, i.e., ones that didn't work during the game, and I'm sure you saw them. I'm sure you're like, what the hell are you doing? It was the one that comes to mind is that 4th-and-1 play in the first quarter where instead of doing like a run or whatever, like Josh Allen drops, I think he did play action drop back or something, and he had to throw it a lot quicker than he wanted to. Ended up being an incomplete pass, and the Chiefs got the ball and they ran down the field and scored a touchdown. So, uh, but by and large, this was the best called game by Joe Brady this season. I thought, and a lot of it had to do with Josh Allen. He was accurate. He was much more accurate this week than he had been in previous weeks. Uh, he was, what I mentioned, 23 for 26. Very complete game for Josh Allen, and the credit does go to Joe Brady for helping figure that out this week. Dalton Kincaid, dude, I wrote on social media. If you follow me on social media, on Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, I wrote that I believed, based on what we saw last season, based on all the injuries that Dalton Kincaid went through, and then also based on the fact that the Bills didn't really upgrade a ton at the wide receiver position, I said Dalton Kincaid is going to ball the F out. Like, this is his season. And he's shown flashes of it here and there. And today, 6 for 6, 101 yards, touchdown. Just a great game by Dalton Kincaid. He's starting to turn into everything we wanted in our tight end, in a pass-catching tight end. I mean, you gotta love what you see. Khalil Shakir was a second-leading receiver for the Buffalo Bills, 43 yards. I believe it was 6 for 7. I'm doing this while driving again. You know what I'm doing too? I don't know if you've ever done this. I had to eat something on the way home because what happened was I during the tailgate I had snacks. They had buffalo chicken dip. Shout out to those guys over there that provided all the food. I had they cut up some steak, so we had pieces of steak and buffalo chicken dip and veggie tray, and of course there was hot dogs and all this stuff. And then you're like, oh, I'm good. It's 4 o'clock. Like I'm full. You don't eat again, and all of a sudden it's 9 o'clock, and you're like, I could go for something. I'm kind of hungry now, to be honest. So I went and stopped and got a quick garbage plate here someplace in Rochester. And while I was doing that, because this only happens when you're starving and you need to eat something, I bit the bottom of my tongue. That really sensitive, thin part on the bottom of your tongue. So I'm going to be taking several sips. I can feel it's super painful. But I wanted to talk to you guys. I wanted to get some thoughts out here for this win, this victory. This is the biggest win for the Buffalo Bills in 2025 since the Ravens game, in my opinion. I know a lot of things didn't go the Bills' way for games for other teams to either lose in the AFC, like the Broncos didn't lose, the Patriots didn't lose. I saw the Colts did lose, so that went well. But for the most part, everything else didn't go the Bills' way. But the Chiefs lost, the Bills won. That was the most important thing. And you know what? I think that unfortunately, it sounds like quick wall of fame, wall of shame, right? On my wall of fame goes Cole Bishop for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. Love what he's shown. Love that he's fighting the adversity from the fan base, adversity from outside of it, talking heads. He just put his head down, grinds, and it showed. And he was a big part of the reason why the Bills won tonight. Honorable mention goes to Josh Allen. Without Josh Allen, if this wasn't Cole Bishop's game, I mean, Josh Allen had a great game. Probably should be co-Wall of Famer Josh Allen. Not a game manager. He he was decisive. He made some tremendous throws, even ones that weren't those stupid wide receiver screens, those bubble screens off to the side. I'm okay with the Bills removing part of that from their for their playbook, unless they need 4 yards, and I'm okay with it. But shout out, honorable mention to Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa had a really good game today. That's the reason why you get Joey Bosa, and that's the reason why he's already more impactful than Von Miller was the last 2 seasons. So just knock on wood. Hopefully he stays healthy all season. Wall of Shame. Actually, honorable mention for Wall of Fame. The refs swallowing their whistles at times. They did. I was, just finally catching up on social media. Saw some questionable calls that the Bills got in their favor, which they normally would not. So, but then again, I'm sure the Chiefs will make up for it in the playoffs and the postseason. So it's potentially that. But honorable mention was the refs swallowing their whistles on some of those calls. Some of them were still ticky-tack by the Bills. Even that intentional grounding against the Chiefs, it was tipped at one point. But whatever, sometimes that happens, man. I think they still ended up getting the first down anyway, so it was like 3rd and 17. It went from 3rd and 7 to 3rd and 17, and then I think it even went to 4th and 17 or whatever, and the Chiefs still got it. So it didn't even freaking matter for the Chiefs because they're really good. Wall of shame in this game. I can only think of one thing for the wall of shame, and that is injuries. The injury bug that continues to plague the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if you've ever seen the meme that has to do with, if something didn't happen, like this is what the world would look like, right? So it shows this like utopia, this like huge technologically advanced society, if so and so didn't happen. And that's kind of my feelings of like if the Buffalo Bills, the 2025 Buffalo Bills didn't have injuries to important players because they would be in such great shape right now if they didn't rely on um, Michael Hoyt didn't go, specifically Michael Hoyt didn't go down with an Achilles injury, which means he won't be back till, at minimum, maybe the beginning of a regular season next season. We'll see. That's a huge list. I mean, we only got, unfortunately, a game and a half out of him, and he looked awesome. It was such a needed addition to the Bills' pass rush. He's going to be sorely missed, and that sucks. Uh, Several of you mentioned over Twitter, like replied in the mentions, like this is why we can't have nice things, and I don't have anything better to say to you about that because I feel you, and I feel the same exact way. Anytime that something good happens, a player pulls an Achilles on a non-contact injury, a guy like Dwayne Carter, who is supposed to be a good part of this rotation, ends up tearing his ACL or what was it his Achilles? I'm not quite sure. In the off season, while doing strength and conditioning work on his own, that shit happens. You're thinking about T.J. Sanders injuring his knee in practice, needing surgery, being out for the on IR. Taylor Rapp going on IR. DeMar Hamlin going on IR. Ed Oliver just recently going on IR. Ruptured bicep tendon, which maybe he could be back by the end of the season or the beginning of the postseason. We'll see. But I mean, you can't count on any of that. I mean, the Bills just looking for anything, and they're getting the most out of these practice squad call-ups. Matthias called up; he looked great today. Run stuffing. Jordan Phillips had another good game. Hats off to the defense, man. They've been playing with the deck stacked against them, and they're still getting pressure. They're getting turnovers. They look like a cohesive unit out there. I thought tons of credit there. On another honorable mention to the Wall of Fame. To those guys. But yeah, there's not a lot to really. I mean, we were talking about stats of the game earlier. Patrick Mahomes was 15 for 34. That's less than 50% completion percentage. That is not a normal Patrick Mahomes game, especially with how hot he's been and how good he's looked lately. And you have Max Hairston, rookie corner, everything we wanted him to be today, and he took away Xavier Worthy, one of their fastest, best wide receivers. I believe at the time I last checked stats, he was one reception for 7 yards, but Uh, I don't know, guys. I'm flying high. I know the season is not close to being over. The injuries do suck. It's hard to sugarcoat that and get a positive out of that. The one thing I will say for a positive for that is it gives Jordan Hancock a chance to get more reps at safety, which in the end he might eventually be a much better player than Taylor Rapp. I'm not saying he will be, but there's potential there with Jordan Hancock, and maybe he doesn't get this shot until next season when Taylor Rapp's contract is out. So that's if you're trying to find some sort of glimmer of hope or some sort of positivity in the injuries, that's one of them. Deion Walker's getting a ton of reps. He looks great. Love the way he's showing up. I'm glad the Bills aren't relying on him too much and are calling these guys up for the practice squad. Um, so yeah, let me know. Write us in. Let us know what you think about who your Wall of Fame, Wall of Shame was in this Bills victory. If you're thinking about what position or what kind of player the Bills should trade for, even before this game, based on numbers, based on injuries, I was going to say defensive tackle. And I know Michael Hoyt's not a strict defensive tackle. He moonlights between defensive end, defensive tackle. On pass rushing downs, he moved to the inside. At the second half of the game, they needed to use Javon Solomon in that role, which really isn't his strong suit. To be honest, I'd rather have Javon Solomon on the outside and Greg Rousseau on the inside or something like that. But defensive tackle, for me, it's not even close. Would it be great to get another wide receiver? Of course. If something falls in your lap, if you can get a Shaheed from the New Orleans Saints, absolutely go for it. For sure. Try to get a guy like that, a burner that could stretch the defense. I am all for that. Get a player like that. But if you're looking at players also, my priority would be defensive tackle, bar none. They have guys. Luckily, Bean has stacked this roster, with guys that can play from the practice squad. Uh, and I'm hoping that we get T.J. Sanders back. I know he went on IR about 3 weeks ago, so technically he could return in a week or two. But he did have knee surgery, but they didn't explain what kind of knee surgery. Was it a scoping? Was it something more severe? Um, you'd know for sure if it was an ACL or something like that. But the fact that he needed surgery, obviously not a good sign. Will he come back in another few weeks, or is his rookie season done? Either way, the Bills need backups. They need more ammunition in that area. I'd take it at defensive tackle. It makes so much sense. I hear everyone talking about it, and it just makes so much sense to get Harrison Phillips from the Jets. Harrison Phillips, I believe he was traded from the Vikings to the Jets, and the Jets are going nowhere. They don't have him signed after this year. It's a really, easily doable contract based on money, and it's a system that he's familiar with. And it would be great to have Harrison Phillips back. I loved Harrison Phillips when he was here. Wasn't the most amazing player, wasn't the flashiest player ever, but he was solid. Like Kyle Williams. They called him Kyle Williams Jr. He was never nearly as good as Kyle Williams, but he was solid, man. Like he's the perfect kind of player that you draft or you trade for. And with all things considered, and the Jets aren't really going anywhere, so they don't have to worry about giving the Bills a player like that's going to have it's going to be in the NFL for 10 years. They'll be like, why did we ever give the Bills Brees Hall, right? Like that's not going to happen. But so I could see normally you don't do interdivision or intra-division trades, but that's one I could easily see them doing. And that's one I'd want. So something similar to that. We just need more depth, either at the, 1 tech or 3 tech. I mean, we need bodies, man. We just need folks to be there somehow. So I don't know if it's worth snatching someone up off a practice squad, even having Bean and his scouts do their work. But I mean, a trade. I mean, what we probably get like a 6th or 7th round pick for Harrison Phillips. So do that in a heartbeat. Do it tomorrow. Get him on the plane tomorrow to Buffalo. Make it happen. But yeah, that's all I gotta say, guys. I'm hoping to do another podcast tomorrow night with Mike and John. Obviously, getting home around 10 o'clock makes it tough to record for another hour and then editing after that and all that fun stuff. So it worked out well to just do this on the ride home. Hopefully, the sound is okay. I apologize for that. Because it's never as good when I'm doing it from my phone like this. In the car, it just isn't. I mean, your phone mic just isn't nearly as good as, the one I use for podcasting. But I wanted to get my thoughts out there for you all. Wanted you to get a part of it. Hopefully, when we record, if and when we record tomorrow, we can do our giveaway then. So make sure you get in on that giveaway, become a subscriber on YouTube. Also, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and leave your Twitter handle or your social media handle so I can call it out if and when you win. I got some really cool Bills memorabilia this week from some auction sites that I'm looking forward to give away. There's some jerseys, mini helmets, stuff like that, man. And I mentioned that the big giveaway at the end of the season is going to be a Taron Johnson jersey. So I might have some other cool jerseys to give away in that time frame as well. So again, thank you guys all for listening. Appreciate you being a part of the podcast. Email us, DM us, give us any of your thoughts on this, and hopefully I can read a lot more of the thoughts from Twitter when I'm not driving, and I can actually look down at my screen for a second. Anyway, guys, hope you guys had a safe trip back from the stadium. So for me, Nate, go Bills, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.